At some point in your reality shifting journey, you are going to need to hold steady. Your world may be collapsing around you. And in fact, when you really start to make internal shifts, this changes how you behave. It changes how you think. It changes what you do. And as a result, it changes the reality that you create. And so when you have been in a place of stagnation, or in a place where your surroundings are less than optimal, what happens is that you start to level yourself up, and you start to set new standards for yourself, and you start to say, no, this doesn't work for me. No, no. Or you start to say, I'm going to go for it. I've never really gone for it before, but this time I'm going for it. Or you start to say, I'm not afraid anymore. And what happens is when you make that decision, you suddenly recalibrate. Perhaps it's, I'm not going to hide my light. I'm not going to hide who I am anymore. I'm not going to make everybody else feel better by playing and staying small. I'm going to use my voice. When you make that decision, there's something that happens inside of you. You make a commitment to yourself, and this is one of the most sacred commitments that you can make. And that is what living in integrity is. Being in integrity is being in commitment and alignment to yourself, and being conscious about the type of person that you aim and want to be, and then holding yourself accountable and forgiving and loving yourself when you realize all the ways that you're not in integrity and that you haven't been in integrity. I had one of those moments tonight where I looked back before my awakening and I was like, wow, I thought I was a good person. I was, but my standards for being a good person are way different than they are now. And when you look back and you see yourself and you see the foibles, you see the mistakes, and you realize how far you've come, that's the time to exercise compassion and love. Because what happens is when you send that compassion and love to your past self, and the past could just be yesterday, right? It could even just be moments ago. When you look back with forgiveness and tenderness, and you say, that's okay because I'm committed to getting back on the journey of integrity. I'm correcting my mistake. I've already corrected. You allow yourself to be imperfect. And then what happens? There's this catalytic whip of energy that unwinds inside of you. And I'm imagining in your sacral or solar plexus chakra, depending on your unique blueprint. And it snaps out, grabbing almost like a little finger, grabbing a reality layer and attaching it to you. And that then materializes as a new life, a new beginning, a new persona, because now you are in integrity. You are in alignment. And by staying in alignment and catalyzing that with actions and decisions, what happens is that the old life that was attached to you sort of drifts away, but it's not immediate. It's not like all of a sudden I'm in a new life and therefore the old is just extinct automatically. No, it's almost like it goes through its own process of decay. And the particles of the material world that were reshaping and reforming themselves to bond to you, to bond to your being, what happens is that they slowly dissipate into the wind. And almost like this chain reaction, it goes outward to the past, to the future, and to the present, in all directions. But it's a process. And I'm seeing it as a linear process, indicating that this might be a binary mechanism if you're from a binary society, because it is rate limited. It is time bound. And so that means that it is bound to the binary concepts. So for those who have already shifted into the quantum arrangements of reality, then it might not work this way for you. Many of my listeners are still in binary societies, though. So then what happens is that in your etheric field, for a while you're going to have options of the new life and the old life, because the old life is still going to talk to you, is still going to call you, is still going to tempt you back. It's like that ex. It just pings you out of the blue. And it's like, hey, you want to grab coffee? You want to grab dinner, drinks? And then the next thing you know, you're right back at it. It's like that love interest that never really dies. And it's like this decay, right? And especially if it's a toxic love, I call it like the last breath, the last swipe of the demon. That's what it feels like sometimes. It's like when you really, really start to let go and you really, really start to walk away, those demons will get you that one last time. And they'll try to rope you back in. The same pattern, the same everything. And your job is to hold steady in your new identity, to hold steady in the integrity of who you have decided to be, because your new life is contingent upon you actually realizing this new essence of you. Because think about it for a moment. Think about it. If you stayed the same person, the same thought patterns, the same decision trees, the same patterns, the same habits, the same everything, the same routines, then you are, in effect, creating and recreating the same reality that you've always known. And you can shift, and all you're going to do is just shift into another version of the map that you already have created. And the patterns and the patterns are going to stay the same. The people may change. Actually, they could stay the same too. It happens a couple of different ways, but the pattern will definitely stay the same. And so you end up actually wasting time, because you're just, not you, but this fictitious you is like jumping around, reality shifting, very often trying to escape that which is trapping them, only to find out that they're just in another version of the trap. And oh, they have blonde hair now, okay. They have a different name. It's still the same. And now you've wasted 5 years. 5 years of your life when you could have actually not passed go, not collected the $200, stayed where you were at, solved the problems there. This is why I'm a huge proponent of shadow work, because it's actually so much faster to handle the patterns and unlock your unique puzzle of your psyche. If you need help with this, feel free to reach out and email me. You can find my email in the description box. So, holding steady is about committing to this new version of you, because you are committing to catalyzing a new life, a new version of your reality. And it's more than just changing your hair and changing your clothes and changing your music taste, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you evaluate situations, Say, for example, you're evaluating a new friendship, a partnership, a job opportunity. You need to have a substantially different thought pattern. How you decide needs to change. Otherwise, you create the same. So now, let's say the decision is the same, right? But you hold the decision to a different set of metrics, to a different value system. Instead of looking at the pros and cons, like maybe you did that in the past, now you're looking at what are my top 5 values that I want to create a life from. Not, is this a good idea or a bad idea? And what ways is it a good idea and bad idea? It's like, what is my personal alignment? What do I care about the most? And does this person or opportunity meet my new standards? It's a game changer. And meanwhile, you're going to have this vacillation and this pullback effect. And what you're supposed to do in a situation like this is to not just, this is what I've done, I've made this mistake, is don't run from the past. Don't pretend like it didn't exist. Don't always block it. Sometimes you do need to block the past. Like sometimes you actually do, especially if it's going in a direction that would harm you and or people that you love and care about in any substantial way, or if somebody's not like getting the message. Your job is actually to hold steady with the past. That is leveling yourself up. You see, for a long time, I would just run from the past because I knew that I wasn't strong enough to be my new person in front of the past. And sometimes, especially when I'm talking to my immediate family, I slip back into my old identity, my old mannerisms, my speech patterns, Like, I don't talk to my family like I make recordings. And it kind of perplexes me. It kind of vexes me because I'm like, I need to tighten that up. It's like a loose screw of alignment. And so what happens is that it kind of messes up the spectral order of the universe, or the arrangement of it, in a way that I can't comprehend right now because I just downloaded that phrase and I have to unpack what it actually means later. I do part channeling and part my own infusion of wisdom, just in case you're wondering. So I receive messages from source, from beyond, and it usually comes in the way of pictures, which is why I describe these pictures to you, like with the whip of energy and the fractals, but it's not like pictures that I see with my mind. It's like almost a conceptual download, and it's more like a cognitive map, if you're familiar with that principle. So when you start reality shifting, you're going to have that moment that you're like, I'm in my new life. And the scenery is going to change. The people are going to change. And the opportunities are going to change. And you're going to feel this confrontation with the past. And instead of running from it, you can do that for a while. Eventually, you're going to need to be the new person that you are and turn around and look at it while it is decaying for the final transmutation. And this is where the holding steady is the hardest, because your triggers, your wounds, your whatever it is will be tested. And if you're not really healed, if you've just thought that you were healed, all it takes is one conversation and everything collapses. You're right back there. You're not there permanently. It's not like that. But you're back in the mindset. You're back in the thought patterns. You're back in the old skin that formerly was too tight because you just expanded and you grew and you grew and you grew, and then everything sort of like faded away, right? And then boom, one conversation, one trigger, and it's like those snug jeans that you outgrew suddenly fit again perfectly. And then you have a series of decisions that you could make that would change the scope and the direction of your reality-shifting destiny for the rest of your conscious awakening experience. So choose wisely, choose carefully. And that is why one of the most sacred commitments that you can make is to yourself about who you want to be and why you want to be. And especially if you're doing a 180, especially if, let's say, you're coming out or you're stepping into something that used to scare you, or you're finally using your voice, or whatever it is, right? You're really expanding. You're always going to have what held you back ready to hold you back again. But by holding steady, in integrity, in alignment with who you are and who you've decided to be, you can let the past coexist with you and try to tear you down. And it no longer phases you. You see it for what it is, a little demon that's trying to swipe you one last time. And you can be like, okay, little demon, I see you, I check you. How's it going? How's it going over there in Demon Land? Okay, great. Can I get a postcard? I'd love to see what it looks like over there. Are there trees? Are they black? Really, what's your life like over there? So the principle of holding steady starts from within, because all change actually starts from within and then can be exuded outward into your reality shifting process to manifest and materialize a new world for yourself. Literally, particles and matter will aggregate differently depending on the person that you are today versus tomorrow versus 5 years from now. And when you really understand this, it gets very exciting, because then you start to realize that you were never really trapped at all. The prison was actually a prison of your own mind, of your own making. And yes, sometimes people come and put you in prison. I'm not saying that that's imaginary, let's keep it real for a moment. But the essence of who you are, your consciousness, and thinking that there was no way out, thinking that there was no alternative, thinking that you couldn't be anything more than what you were. Or, you see what I mean? You see how that's disempowered thinking and that relenting to circumstance? It takes the wisdom and the determination and the drive inside to say, in spite of everybody and everything that has tried to hold you back, in spite of. I don't really like that phrase because it has a slightly negative connotation, but it works because it says, this happened to me, but it doesn't define me, because who I am inside is undefinable except by me. Meaning, nobody in the outside world can tell me who I really am, but the outside world can demonstrate to you who you're not. What I mean is, let's say you have this idea about who you are in your mind, and the outside world will bring you challenges, and you'll figure out pretty quickly if the person that you think you are actually lives up to that. So the outside world can show you who you are. It can reveal who you are, but it doesn't define you. You are who you are. And when you're unconscious, again, not you, most of my listeners are not unconscious, but when people are unconscious, they don't know this. They never define themselves. They never even think about who they are. They just are without consideration And then they're like, well, the world made me that way. Well, I got my heart broken too many times. Oh, well, your father, he cheated. And so I'm making up voices now, but you get the point. It's like, well, they laid me off, and so I'm never going to find a job. And that, oh, my family didn't have money. I can't go to school. F that. F that. Who gave you that story? Right? And so that's what I mean by the in spite of. It's got a negative connotation, but it's also got conviction that says, it doesn't matter what you do to me. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, because I know who I am. So put me in prison. Okay. I'll create Sacred Journey Productions in prison. We'll all meditate and reality shift the F out of there. Okay, maybe not. But maybe we'll see. So I'm just joking. But the point is that things can happen to you, and your job is to hold steady within yourself and to not let the world tell you who you are, but to reveal to you for your own understanding and edification, so you can define yourself and hold yourself accountable, and to let the past, or whoever it is, hold you back, or to mess up your destiny, or to keep you playing small, or to keep you weak. Like whatever. Everybody has their own version of this at some point in their lives, and some people have already worked through it. And so the goal is to actually define who you are and make those different decisions. Because once you create yourself from the inside, you create from the inside out, and you become untouchable. And the past is there coexisting with you, and you're like, hey demon, what's up? Or, hey small pants, what's up? How those jeans fitting? Yeah, they look pretty snug, perfectly snug. I'll grow mine. Expansion is so liberating. I highly recommend it. So hold steady. We'll talk next time.